a good number of responses and participation from the audience. We'll be starting the webinar in another few minutes. Our webinar speaker Akela Prakash Rao sir also joined the webinar in the backstage. Good evening, everyone. My name is Pawan Kumar Sahu, and I handle product marketing at Websol. I'll be your moderator for the webinar today. Before we head into the webinar, I would like to give you a small introduction of our company that I represent from. I'll try to keep it short. Websol was part of Wipro in back in the days. We were the printer manufacturing division of Wipro, and we are specialized in dot matrix printer category. Over the years, the company decided to step out of the Wipro and form a separate entity in the name of Web Solutions. Our signature offering, managed printing services, was carried over 2 decades, and with evolving needs and changing market trends, we decided to bring digital workplace solutions to our portfolio. We also expanded our product and service portfolio to cater to the mass markets. Over the years, we also collaborated with market giants like Ricoh and Fujifilm. I'd like to highlight few milestones of our journey. Websol is coming up with 20 years of industry experience with over 500 plus enterprise customers. We are present in over 2000 plus service locations in India. And in fact, we have awarded as Best DMS Solution Company of the Year by CIO Outlook and other awards like CSA Awards Excellence in IT in 2013. You can see some of our trusted clients like Herbalife, JL Morrison, Tata Capital, HDFC, etc. FluidWorks is our intelligence workplace suite catering to a wide range of interdepartmental functions. We have a gamut of offerings under FluidWorks, which I will explain in the upcoming slide. Fluid Pro is our managed IT services portfolio, where we offer infrastructure consulting services, cybersecurity solutions, remote monitoring and management. Moving on to Fluid Print, we offer print infrastructure solutions according to your customer requirements. We offer both CapEx and OpEx models, and we charge the customer on pay-per-print basis. We are number one in this business model. Fluid Map Fluid Map is a tool to track all the assets in our network, and it will show key parameters like uptime, downtime, toner, and cartridge levels. Fluid Trail is our process automation solution, which we offer document management hosted on Microsoft Cloud. With this, we can automate all your office processes like employee records management, candidate onboarding, finance, contract management, inventory management, etc. We also offer a managed GST solution for filing, reconciliation, e-invoice, e-way bill automation, etc. Since the audience are from finance and audience background, if you want to know more about Flow Tax, our managed GST solution for filing, reconciliation, GST e-invoice, e-way bill automation, we are providing a free demo for you. I'll be quickly launching a poll to take your consent on this free demo. If anyone interested to know more about Flow Tax, our GST solution for reconciliation, e-invoice, e-way bill automation, etc., please click on the yes so that our team will reach out to you for the free demo on how to automate your existing GST processes. Flow Tax is our entire process for automating all the GST processes like reconciliation, e-invoicing, e-way bill, etc. We are also coming up with some AI tools in the future. Recently, we have introduced the functionality for IMS, Invoice Management Solution as well. If anyone interested in taking a free demo of our FlowTax platform, please click on yes, reach out to me in the poll box. Okay, audience, I will be closing the poll in another few seconds. Moving on to our speaker, Mr. Avinash Tyagi. I would like to introduce our speaker of the day, Mr. Avinash Tyagi. Avinash brings with 25 plus years of experience extending to strategic HR.
Pawan, I think you are talking about HR consultant. Pawan, you are talking about HR consultant.
Yes, sir. Mr. Akela is an independent indirect tax advocate. He graduated in 1989 from BITS Pilani in electrical and electronics engineering. He is also a gold medal holder who completed LLB from Andhra University in the year 2001. And he has more than 27 years of experience in the field of indirect taxes and exposure in government. He has also have experience in industries like auto and pharma. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here today, sir. I'm sure audience also looking forward to directly hearing from you.
Yeah, very good afternoon to all of you. Today, because of my bad health, I may not be able to speak much, though the topic requires a lot of deliberations. So I thought that maybe that it is going to be, if it is an interactive session, then it is good. Because if you have got any questions and all that I can answer, I am going to introduce the topic for you. Later, if you are going to ask me any questions, then I'll be happy to answer all of them. Because this is something which comes out of the practice only. There is no theory behind uh, this cash flow management, particularly after the introduction of the GST. Hence, from your practical experiences, if you can tell me what are the problems that you are facing, maybe we can have a better interaction and thereby we can learn together. That is the whole idea. So any questions that you have, I request you to please post them in the Q&A box. So the subject cash flow management is a very important thing for all the guys who are there in the finance and the accounts. So after the GST, how it is being impacted, that many people, when we have interacted with them extensively, then they say that, yeah, GST is putting a lot of pressure on us, that the refunds are not coming properly. The input tax credit, we are not able to avail on time. Hence, we have to always go to the management, seek approvals for pumping in more cash in order to meet our output tax obligation and things like that. So why, what can be the reason for this kind of a situation? If you analyze it, then maybe that we can get some solutions. However, before going into the practicalities of it, just to introduce the topic for you, I'm putting this agenda in a very brief manner. What is the GST and the cash flow? What are the challenges you have? And what are the proactive strategies? In detail, we can discuss, but in brief, I'm going to touch upon these topics now with you. Next slide, please. Yeah, effective cash flow management is crucial for the sustainability and growth of any business. The revenue has introduced several measures in order to improve the cash flow under the GST. Many people may not agree with me, but actually the government is doing out of the way that several measures that they have implemented. Some of them are e-invoicing, invoice management system, e-way bill, reconciliation processes, and digitization of the return process. E-invoice not only streamlines the invoicing process, but also enhances the cash flow management, leading to optimized financial operations. It helps in standardization, compliance, reduced errors, real-time reporting, cost efficiency, sustainability, and quicker reconciliation. It helps in cash flow management by accelerated payment cycles, enhanced visibility and tracking, optimized working capital, improved supplier relations, data-driven decision-making process. Many of these words appear to be from the management books and all that, but actually, uh, this e-invoicing is helping us in many ways because it is digitized and there are standard parameters which are required for you to go for the e-invoicing. Those who are above 5 crores invariably have to go for e-invoicing. And come 1st of April 2025, I think across the board, everybody has to embrace the e-invoicing, whether you like it or not. That is going to be the reality. And then once the standardization is there, then it will be easy for you to have a reconciliation in place. And then since it is not with a physical paper that you need to carry whenever you are issuing a invoice, then it is going to save on the cost also. So cost efficiency is there, and compliances also will be easy because it is digital. So whatever fields that are required without much of an errors, that you can populate it into your returns, and then the entire process is digitally driven. Hence, it will be easy for you to monitor it also. And the newly introduced invoice management system helps in a two-way communication in the supply chain. It effectively reduces the time taken for availing the input tax credit by giving an opportunity to verify the documents before the goods reach the destination, and also facilitates the faster processing of the invoices. So, in what way the IMS is going to help you? IMS is a two-way communication tool. So many people started questioning what is the sanctity for this IMS, how the government can unilaterally bring in some new complaints for us. But actually, it is not a new complaints. It is a communication tool which the government has come out with to ease our burden. See, before the goods have reached you, before you are in receipt of the invoice, because the IMS system is there in place, the minute the invoice from your supplier is uploaded in the GSTN portal, you will have access to the invoice. You can go through the fields, whether the invoice quantity is correct, whether the rate is as per your negotiations, as per your purchase order, and whatever the commodity that he is sending you, whether it is the right one that you have asked for, which in chemicals and all, that you will have a particular grade and other things. So whether they are matching to all your requirements and it is as per your PU. Once these verifications are done before you actually receive the goods at your doorstep, half the battle is won, because the minute the goods are received intact, then you are good to take the avail the input tax credit. So the moment goods come in, if they are do not have any kind of a chemical test to accept, then immediately by quantity measurement and all that, you can accept the goods, you can create a GRN, immediately the ITC can be availed thereof. But if it has to wait for any chemical test reports to come and all that, maybe the process may take some time. But by the time that you receive the goods, the document verification process is complete. And as far as you sitting in accounts or finance are concerned, that you are good to go once the production or the supply chain gives you a confirmation that the goods received are as per my PO. So you can reduce the last minute works in order to avail the input tax credit. So, and then whenever there are any kind of a discrepancies before the goods reach the destination, you can always converse with your supplier and to ask him for making corrections in the invoice if the time permits, or otherwise to cancel the document and to issue a proper document with immediate effect. So all these things need not wait till you receive the goods. So this IMS is actually facilitating you. So rather than questioning its legality, it is better that one takes the advantage of this particular new system. E-waybill is a key component to establish the movement of goods so that ITC can be availed on receipt of the goods. It effectively monitors the movement of goods. The e-waybill is also a very, very important document because the authorities are suspecting, because of the some stray cases of the fake invoicing trade is flourishing in the market. Hence, every transaction is suspected by the revenue authorities. So, in such a scenario, e-way is a potent weapon with which you can counter them that the goods were actually transitioned from the supplier to the customer. So, the supply has happened that can be established only by way of an e-way bill. And the government is also coming out with several kinds of reconciliations that between e-way bill and your invoices generated and all these things. Of course, that from the GSTN portal, you will not be in a position to generate all these things, but certainly the data is readily available, which can be extrapolated at your end the way you want to see that. But if you have gone for any kind of a ASP, GSP providers like Websol, so their flow tax digital automation system, then all these kind of reconciliations are available in a jiffy for you. That is the reason, if your time permits, I earnestly urge all of you just to see the demonstration of this flow tax. So how simple it is and how it will facilitate your life, because it reduces a lot of time for you while doing these reconciliations. Hence, it is going to be very useful. So any digitization tool available in the market, you can go for it. And the digitization of the entire GST procedure helps in real-time analysis of the transactions. So with the digitization across the GST processes, then the real-time analysis of the transactions is made easy. So all these measures are actually addressing your cash flow management only. Directly, some like input tax credit, when you are receiving an e-invoice and through IMS, when you are able to verify the correctness of the document and all that, definitely it is contributing towards your cash flow management. Indirectly, if you say that tomorrow when the authorities are going to question whether the movement of these goods has happened or not, then e-way bill is going to come in handy. And elaborate reconciliations which are required when you are having a digital flow of the entire transactions, it is easy. So it is saving on your time and the manpower, which also helps in increasing your cash flow only. So sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly, but definitely the measures which are undertaken by the revenue are helping in the cash flow management in the GST scenario. But nevertheless, people still crib on that my ITC is not eligible, but the authorities are saying that my credit is not good. That is because of lack of understanding, or sometimes there are still the disputes are happening between the revenue and the SSEs as far as eligibility of the credit is concerned. Of course, that there is nobody to blame on such a kind of a thing, because the confusion still continues. So we can't help it with certain things that we may have to live, but majority of the cases, at least, that we can overcome these difficulties if we adopt digitization and automation in our system. Next slide, please. Yeah. So business working capital refers to the funds needed to manage the daily operations of a business, including the expenses for the business, such as paying vendors, meeting business urgencies, and managing business hours effectively. Proper calculation of the business working capital is vital for sustaining operations and driving the business profits. With a new tax regime, businesses must pay GST on their purchases upfront. This leads to a temporary cash outflow until the time they can claim the input tax credits. For businesses heavily reliant on the taxable supplies, this creates a situation where cash is tied up in the GST payments, affecting their business cash flows. Additionally, the rate of businesses can vary depending on the nature of goods and services provided, influencing the amount of the working capital required. This is not new for all of you who are there in the field and who are day to day managing the operations of your respective organizations, that the how when the working capital is going to suffer. The mismatch of ITC or disallowance of the credit further complicates the scenario. Suppose a recipient taxpayer cannot avail of the eligible credit due to issues such as reversal of credit or unmatched credit. In that case, they may face a negative cash flow impact, limiting their access to cash. These factors underscore the importance of attention to business working capital and efficient management of the GST payments to avoid cash flow issues. So, effective working capital management improves the cash flow, minimizes the ITC availability, and reduces the business costs, access to funds, and financial stability. So, these are some of the measures that one needs to embrace in order to improve your cash flow in your businesses. Next slide, please. Pawan, you are planning any kind of a poll at this stage?
Yes, sir, there is a poll.
Yeah.
Audience, we are going to conduct a poll related to the explained content. I will be quickly launching a poll related to the content. The poll on your screens. How does e-invoicing help businesses with cash flow management, accelerated payment cycles, standardized reporting, enhanced supplier relations, all of the above? Also, audience, if you have any questions or queries related to the topic, you can type in the Q&A section or the chat box. Or if you want to directly ask or talk with the sir, you can raise your hands so that in the end of the webinar, we will be having a Q&A session and you can directly ask the questions with sir. Looks like all the audience are very aware of the topic and they are understanding well. Most of the answers that we are getting are correct. Audience, I will be closing the poll in another few seconds. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, most of you have got the answer correctly because e-invoicing is going to help in accelerated payment cycles. It standardizes the reporting and it enhances the supplier relations. So, most of you have got it right only. So, now coming back to the topic that we are on, cash flow management strategies. So, forecast the cash flow. So, if you are in a position, once you have filed your GSTR1, then exactly you know what is going to be the liability that you are sitting on for discharging on 20th when you are about to file your GSTR repeat. But what you may not be knowing on 10th when you close your GSTR1 is how much of the credit is there in your hands, which will be known to you only after 15th. So now, so you have to make all those calculations by going through your returns in the GSTN portal, that what is going to be your liability and what is going to be the credit that is going to be available, and what is the amount of RCM that you might have paid, and what is the opening balance of the credits that you are carrying forward. So based on all those things, then you know it what is going to be the cash that you may require to meet your obligation while filing your GSTR 3P. So you have to forecast the cash flow, sync the customer and vendor payment terms. So this is one another point that you need to keep it in mind, that you have to have the payment terms of your customers as well as the vendors in sync, so that what happens is it is not that you pay to all your vendors, but from your customers you have a longer credit period. If such is the case, unfortunately in the GST it so happens that it is not that you will pay only on receipt of your payments, but you are supposed to pay immediately once the supply is made. So without even waiting for the recovery made by you. So if they are not in sync, then what happens that you will end up in a cash flow situation. Incentivize the faster payment. There are many service providers who are available, but of course, they will be mainly concentrating on the bigger companies with a lot many invoices and payments, wherein that they are offering services of following it up with the customers in order to realize the sale proceeds, and then they are coming out with offers to incentivize the faster payment, that if you are going to make the payment within 1 month of supplies, then you are entitled for a 5% discount. If you are going to pay it within 2 months, though the company might have given you a 90 days credit period, but if you are going to make the payment within 2 months, maybe a 3% discount. So such a kind of faster payments, then there is a discount. So there are many third-party service providers who are offering these services in the market. So when you incentivize the faster payments, then maybe the cash flows would be better. Smart inventory management. One needs to learn from the many experiments this auto sector has done, particularly the Toyota, who have pioneered in this lean inventory management. They always go by the milk run system, wherein if they are manufacturing 100 cars today, then but the entire 100 cars are going to be manufactured in 4 batches. Then for 25 cars, whatever is the seats are required, whatever the steering, engine, other parts are required, only those many will be inwarded by them, wide one invoice, and they will be put to the production process. And once the batch is complete, then the second invoice, which is required for the second batch, only will be inwarded. That's how that they always maintain a lean inventory, and it's called a milk run system, wherein that as and when the production team requires some goods, then those goods will be present. And second thing also, auto sectors run in such a way that all those auto ancillary companies will be residing closer to, like in a nest, to the main manufacturing plant. Hence, the minute the seeds or the engine or whatever it is comes inside in the production unit of the main manufacturing unit, then it is only nut bolt technology, because rest all the things will get completed at their respective ancillary production units, and only the main manufacturing happens in the main manufacturing unit. That's how they will save on the time, and then the inventory also. And for inventory management, there are many techniques that the when the inventory goes down below certain numbers and all, then you have to immediately place the procurement order, and then some critical components, then you have to procure them in advance. All those inventory management itself is a very big topic that we can't handle it in these kind of a sessions and all. But a smart inventory management is also very key for the cash flow management. And then budget for the business success, and establish a business line of credit, and mitigate the financial risks, streamline the cash flow with technology, ensure the timely tax payments. Some of them are coming out of automation of your processes. Some of them are going to be that diligently when you file your returns and all, then in the GSTN portal, your rating will go up. Of course, the GSTN portal officially is not announcing any ratings, but some of the private operators are giving the ratings based on the compliances that you are making on the GSTN portal. So if your rating is good, really, then you are going to be the most sought after vendor in the market. So people would like to do business with you. So just like your CIBIL score for getting a new loan in the banks, even the compliance score in the GSTN portal makes you a sought after vendor in the market. So all these things are going to help you in your cash flow management. Next slide, please. So some of the challenges that you have, the delayed claims. See, when ITC gets delayed, it is going to have a huge impact on you because you will not be in a position to go for even refunds. And second thing, when you want to meet your output tax liability also, if from the inward side, if the ITC is not readily available, then it is going to be a problem. So, how to overcome this delayed claims? The only way to do it is that if there is any doubt, then look for alternative remedies. Sometimes it so happens that some advanced ruling authority decisions may help you. Sometimes the industry practice, if you ascertain, then it will help you. And sometimes you, if it is very, if you are very conservative, then better that you keep it in abeyance. Maybe that you discuss with your jurisdictional GST authorities, but most of the times you may not get a positive answer from their end. But these are some of the efforts that you can certainly make so that the ITC is not delayed in your hands and you are able to avail it in time so that either you can utilize it to offset your output tax liability or for seeking refunds also. And mismatches. The reconciliation differences, if not resolved expeditiously, will result in the delayed ITC and thereby delayed refunds also. Sometimes they may result in additional liabilities like payments to be made to MSMEs. See, MSME, the payment cycle is just 45 days. So before that time, if there are any document deficiencies or with the product, you have got any kind of a quality or a quantity disputes and all, if these are not resolved in time, then the MSME, the government is going to levy huge interest and penalty obligations on you. So, when they are having a protection from the revenue, then you have to be extra careful while dealing with MSMEs. So, in such a scenario only, I'm telling you that the IMS is going to come in handy because the document accuracy can be verified before you receive the goods, and once the goods are received, then their quality, quantity, other things can be verified so that you will be in a position wherein then you can move towards the payment. So the mismatches, if any, are to be resolved at the earliest. So that is a very important step in the cash flow management. Impact of advance tax. The tax computations, if not done in advance, by taking into the cognizance of the available ITC, it drastically impacts the cash flow. This particular point need not be emphasized too much with you because that you must be dealing with it on a day-to-day basis. Hence, you have to have the advanced tax computations on hand. RCM, the self invoices for services and reverse charge need to be issued within the timelines so that the tax paid can be availed as ITC. This is another point. The previously the law never said that you have to issue the self invoice against each of the RCM invoices that you have received. But now the law has got amended very recently. Now for each of the RCM invoices that you receive, that the self invoices are to be generated invoice wise only, and then you have to pay the RCM liability so that once you have made the payment, then the credit is going to be readily available to you, which you can put to use for the output tax liability, refund, or whatever the purposes that you have. Handling of the refunds needs to be claimed on a periodical basis in order to have better cash flow management. See, the refunds are some two, three kinds of refunds, of course, that we have covered some sessions on refunds also. That if you are predominantly an export player, then you have option of going in for a refund under the letter of undertaking, or the second option is to pay the IGST under the claim of rebate. So if you are going in for one of these things, then if you are opting for the payment of IGST under the claim of rebate, then there is no nothing to be told that you know it, how you have to go for it. If you have got predominantly the capital goods accumulation of the input tax credit on purchase of your capital goods, then it is always suggestible to go for the IGST rebate and IGST refund under the claim of rebate. So that is going to be a better option, because under the LUT, you cannot claim the refund of the capital goods credit. But if you are not having so much of a capital goods credit, then certainly LUT may be a better method. But in the LUT, then the only issue is that elaborate documents submission, etc. is there. But there also one trick is there. Now that there is no compulsion that you have to apply monthly, quarterly, or annual, or whatever it is. The period is can be selected by you freely, but the only thing is sequentially only LUT refund has to be applied. So you can do the computations. If you are going to get a better refund, if you go for a quarterly, or 4 months if you combine, then your refund is going to be better. So all those calculations that you can do it at your end, and accordingly you can make an application. So that is some tricks that you can try. But if you are having a lot of domestic clearances wherein that you are dealing with a inverted duty structure, then of course that you have got the inverted duty refund which you can claim for your domestic clearances. But filing these refunds on time and realizing those by presenting a good set of documents without giving any kind of a scope for the officers to raise any kind of audit objections or queries against your claims, will expedite the refund processing, and then it will help you in your cash flow management. Reconciliations, unless GST process automations are in place, it would be difficult to keep track of the various reconciliations in order to have effective control on the GST. See, if your operations are limited, then it makes sense that even if you do it manually, but your complexity is more and the number of transactions are more, certainly I strongly recommend that you should go for process automation of your GST processes. If you do not opt for it, definitely you will end up with the problems at the time of audit or investigations at a later point of a time. So I strongly urge that one must embrace. See, it is not going to cost you much, because there are a lot many vendors available in the market. You can always negotiate with them, and whatever is the price that you pay is going to be worth, because GST is such a complex process. It requires a digital audit of all the transactions. Hence, it is always suggestible to go for the process automation in a GST environment. Next slide, please.
Audience, I will be launching a quick poll on your screens related to the previous two slides. Please enter your answer. What does streamlining cash flow with technology primarily involve? Real-time analysis of transactions, increasing tax rates, reducing supplier payment cycles, all of the above. Please enter your answer in the poll box. Also, audience, we will be having a post-webinar mailer after the webinar, which I include the recording of the webinar. Audience, if you have any questions or queries, you can type in the chat box or the Q&A section so that we can pick it up all the questions in the end of the webinar. We will be sending you a post-webinar mailer after the webinar by including presentation deck and the recording of the webinar. Also, you can check out all our previous webinars related to GST and taxation in our YouTube channel, WebSolve. We have created one playlist saying GST, including all the videos related to GST and taxation in the YouTube videos. Sir, any comments on the poll, sir?
Yeah. See, the streamlining of cash flow with technology primarily involves the real-time analysis of the transactions. And the effect of it is it will reduce the supplier payment cycles, but in no way it contributes for the increase in the taxes. So the better answer may be the real-time analysis of the transactions, where the majority have answered it the rightly only.
Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir. The next.
Yeah. So some of the proactive strategies that you can think of, the forecast the tax payment aligning with revenue cycles, and mitigating the impact of penalties and the late fee, because that if you are a diligent taxpayer and filing your returns on time without any kind of a delays and all that, certainly that you will be able to mitigate the impact of the penalties and the late fee. Leveraging technology for error-free compliances. Again, my take on digitization comes haunting again here. And timely filing of the refunds, which is a must for any business, and faster payments to the MSME vendors to avoid the penal charges, and the timely compliances are some of the proactive strategies one can have in place to uh, improve their cash flow management. I think I might have come to the end of my presentation. Maybe that I will be happy to take your questions now. Next slide, please.
Yes, sir. Audience, will be having a poll in LinkedIn. I have posted the link in the chat box. You can just click on the link and you will be redirected to the LinkedIn poll for your answers. I have pasted the LinkedIn poll link in the chat box. Which of the following is a key component of GST that impacts cash flow management? ITC utilization, delayed claims, e-way bills, all of the above. Also, audience, if you want to know more about GST updates and reconciliation, e-way bill and e-invoicing, and all the news and updates, you can follow our FlowTax page in a LinkedIn, so that we will be posting case studies, all the updates related to GST tax, everything over there. Please follow our LinkedIn FlowTax page. Yes, Mr. Samik Sarkar will be having the Q&A session right after the poll. Sir, we can proceed for the Q&A session.
Yeah, as far as the LinkedIn post is concerned, that there are two possible answers for it, A and B. Effective utilization of the ITC and timely filing of a refund. So both are going to be helpful. So let us see how you have answered. But now coming to the Q&A box, that there are a couple of queries in this. How to handle small vendors who don't have an e-invoice facility? If somebody is not having a e-invoice facility, so the problem will be that, yeah, there will be a small amount of delay while dealing with those people. But you have to live with it, because there is no other way. If it is an e-invoice, then it is going to be a faster processing for you. But if it is not a e-invoice, then yes, that is the reason I'm telling you, everybody should embrace the technology. But of course, after April 1st, 2025, if the government makes it compulsory that GST has to run on e-invoices only, then there is nothing called small or big. So everybody is going to use the e-invoice. Maybe your worry will be answered at that point of a time. But for the time being, you have to live with it. Can you please elaborate how e-invoice helps in cash flow? I think enough discussion that we made during the presentation. because the e-invoicing is going to create the dialogue in the IMS so that invoice errors or corrections can be made quickly by contacting your supplier and seeking corrections and all that, so that once the goods are received at your end, your job only remains to see the quality, quantity, and to invert them to create a GRN and then move it for the payment process. Hence, in this way, that the time taken for the processing of a document, when it gets reduced, then certainly it will help in your cash flow also. So, is IMS a separate external portal? The answer is no. Is the supplier upload the invoice in the MIS portal? No. See, IMS is not a separate portal. It is a communication tool between in the supply chain management. So it has got nothing to do with your invoice uploading and all. Whatever is the GSTR1 invoices that are there, then they will be visible to the recipient, and the recipient can go through the details and then he can go back to his supplier for if in case if he has got any kind of an objections or wants any kind of a changes. So it is a dialog box. It's nothing but a dialog box. Is IMS can be linked with SAP? There's nothing called linking, sir, because the GSTN is not going to deal with your SAP. Whatever is the data that you generate from your SAP will be put to use. But whatever is the information that you give to the GSTN portal, only that information is going to be processed and then it is going to be displayed to you. So IMS is a communication tool, as I told you. So it will not link with your SAP for
Sir,
sure.
actually, from Flotex, we can connect SAP systems directly with the Flotex portal so that they can transfer all the invoices to our portal for the automated system, sir. We
That
have that
happens
feature.
even with the GSTR1 also, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the GSTN portal doesn't want to interact with your SAP, but if you want to link up and all, it's your choice. But otherwise, GSTN portal will always take the information from your GSTR1 filings, and that will be there for you to create a dialogue with your supplier. That's how it is. Does IMS also identify capital invoice on which we can avail ITC or not? See, either or kind of a questions are not going to be answered by the IMS. It is for you. IMS is only a communication tool, as I told you. So it facilitates your communication. But whether credit is good or not, all these things that you have to take a call using your own knowledge or with the help of your consultants.
Audience, if anyone having any other questions, you can just post in the Q&A session or you can raise the hand so that we can enable you to talk with us, sir. Sir,
Somebody had raised his hand.
yes, sir. Samir Sarkar will allow you. Mr. Samik, you can unmute yourself and you can ask
Yeah.
your question.
I have a confusion that as what facility you postal was going to give us with this? मतलब,
Pardon?
Sorry, Samik?
what facility we are going to get after this IMS? मतलब, how to handle this IMS? Either we have to get a separate service, a company.
No, nothing of that sort. It is available in the system.
Okay.
So by opening that, you can interact with your supplier. That's it. It is
Okay.
a communication tool, as I told you, just like
Okay.
your WhatsApp messaging or your short messaging services available in the mobile. So
Okay.
they have given a facility for you to interact with your suppliers. That's it.
Okay.
Also,
Thank you.
Mr. Samik, I guess you have also opted for the demo of Flotex, right? We'll be
Yes.
explaining you the portal and how exactly IMS works inside the portal. Our
Yes.
team
Yes.
will contact you on this.
Yeah.
Samik,
Yeah.
you have done a good thing that see the demo. Then most of your queries are going to be answered.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
So there is a
So,
question in
Saurav
Q&A.
Chopra, is Bitcoin trading subject to GST? See, Bitcoin trading is still not recognized by India. So, unless the RBI guidelines are clear on this aspect, that currently the transactions are not being subjected to the GST. Of course, whatever the commission that is available and all that, still the debate is going on. But as such, that it is not recognized as a real trading or a supply under GST. For a e-invoice enabled company, all RCM transactions need to be prepared e-invoice part of GSTR1. Flow the data to GSTR2B and avail the ITC or just paying and take the ITC in 3B. See, for all the RCM transactions that you need to generate the self invoice and pay the tax in the 3B and then avail the credit. That is the mechanism that you need to follow. To do IMS reconciliation in GST portal directly, if the invoices are more than 500, we are unable to check in the portal. Sir, IMS will not reconcile the anything for you in the GST portal. But if there are 500 and more invoices that you are facing a challenge, but definitely I don't think that the challenge is coming out of the IMS and all that. But this 500 limitation, I do not know where from that you have picked up. But IMS has got nothing to do with your reconciliations. Pawan, you have anything from your end that what is this 500 magical number?
I'm not aware of 500 numbers, sir, but we can automate, we can do bulk uploading of this.
But he is asking about reconciliation. IMS doesn't do any reconciliation.
Yes,
It is
sir.
a
Yes.
communication tool.
We can enable you to talk, Praveen, if you want to ask question and explain your question. I have allowed you to talk, Mr. Praveen Odella. You can unmute yourself and you can ask a question.
Hello.
Yes, Praveen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, we tried this reconciliation when we try to do it in the GST portal directly. So we need to accept the invoices of the vendors, or we need to accept, right? So when we have opened this IMS, so it's saying that if the transactions or invoice are more than 500, the invoice listing we are not unable to get in the portal to accept.
Oh, bulk acceptance is not permitted if the invoice numbers are more than 500 is what is your problem, right?
Right.
So you want to accept in bulk.
Right.
So that the portal is saying that 500 is the limitation.
Limitation.
Pawan, you have any idea on this?
Yes, sir. We have the feature more than 500. We can upload multiple through our API system. Mr. Praveen, you can also opt for the demo so that you can get the clarity on what is the limits and how to exactly avail the IMS system.
Okay.
We will
Okay.
reach out to you.
Definitely, Pawan. Thank you.
Mr. Samik Sarkar also having another
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Is a IMS now? What I can understand, the IMS is a communication system where we can raise our queries about any invoices with interact with the vendor.
Yes, exactly. See, once in the IMS system, you accept, reject, or keep it on hold the invoice that you are, it was addressed to you, then once you have accepted, there is no action to be taken. But whatever you have kept in abeyance, for that you may want to discuss with your vendor. But whatever you have rejected also, you want to communicate your remarks to the vendor, right? So with the IMS, all these things are possible.
This IMS is a linked with the GST portal, right? Government GST portal.
IMS is going to facilitate the communication in the entire supply chain between you and your supplier. You can have a discussion.
So suppose a supplier has uploaded a wrong invoice and which is or an invoice which is not reflecting in my GST portal, so that communication can be sent through IMS to that supplier.
No, see, if the invoice is not reflected in your portal, you will not be able to know that he had raised an invoice against you.
Okay,
If he has raised an invoice against you, which is having some problems, certainly you can talk to him because you
So
will come to know.
it is not required that the supplier have to also have IMS. It is required.
No, see, the IMS is universally available.
Okay.
Whether you want to make use of it or not is your choice.
So is it if the suppose the suppliers are not using the IMS, then how the message will goes to the supplier?
See, once you have given the message, it will pop up there. It is for the your supplier to open and see and then start communicating with
Pop
you
up where? In the IMS or
in the GSTN portal.
Okay, 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 okay. Thank you, thank you.
Sir, we have questions from Ravindra Bajali.
Yeah. So e-invoice is not required in the RCM. Yes, self-invoices need not be in the e-invoicing portal, sir. We are presently availing the WebSol GST service and we are in SAP environment. So can you please let me know whether the license is required from SAP for integrating the GSTR1 from your WebSol? Is it a flow tax and WebSol are same or different? I think this query is to Pawan, not to me. Pawan?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Ravindra. There is nothing called license. We use APIs to connect SAP and our portal. WebSol is our company name, and the Flowtax is the platform that we are providing for the GST management solution. So you can directly.
To summarize what Pawan is telling you, no license is required from SAP because the flow tax is a bolt-on tool. Hence, they are not troubling the SAP design and architecture. Second thing is that WebSol is the company's name and flow tax is their product name. So they are one and the same.
So we can integrate your SAP system and the Flowtax using APIs. It's just like a connector. I think we have had enough